Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News with me, Keturah King. The African Development Bank recently put out an Africa Visa Openness Report, the first of its kind, which assesses how easy it is for African travellers to visit other countries on the continent. While the requirement of having a visa and all the documentation that needs to be provided is highly restrictive, sometimes there are additional factors that would make a middle-class African more willing to go to Dubai, London or Paris on vacation rather than immediately thinking of going perhaps to another African country. This is a great loss to the continent as it means collectively we're not yet benefiting from the Africa Rising rhetoric, if huge proportions of tourist spending is not used within our continent. So today on Our Take, we're taking a look at why intra-Africa travel is so hard. And I'm joined by travel connoisseurs Chiamaka, Obuekwe and Sonia, Irabor. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are we?
Good, thank you.
So I love speaking with other travelers because I consider myself a traveler, not a tourist, right? Jet set cat. But why, the question of the day is why intra-Africa travel is so difficult. Because traveling around, I'm sure you've both experienced it. You know, if you don't hold a British passport or an American passport or, a Belgian passport, which gives you easy access and freedom of movement, with a typical African passport, you're kind of restricted as to where you go. Why do we think that is? Should we start with you, Sonia?
Yeah. Oh, sure. On the spot. I think generally, I don't know. I think I'm new to intra-Africa travel, and so I'm sort of caught off guard. I was caught off guard a lot by the restrictions. I didn't realise they were there. Yeah. I sort of romanticised the idea of it being like, sort of going through the EU. Well, before pre-Brexit, EU, and I thought, yeah, you've got your ECOWAS passport, you can just sort of go on. But I found that that's not the case, and I think an understanding and a union needs to kind of be stronger. Yeah. It needs to kind of be brought together a bit more to communicate exactly why the difficulties are there, so that we can see how best we can solve that. Because there shouldn't be this much resistance towards exploring Africa. It is our continent.
Exactly.
And, if I want to go to a place, there was no reason why I should have so much difficulty. If I want to go on a road trip, there's no reason why I should have so much difficulty getting my visa sorted or proving that I have a hotel reservation or whatever it might be that is needed. I just want to go.
Chiamaka, what's your take on this?
About the challenges. It's crazy. Okay, let's first start with road trips within West Africa. It's hideous. It's a nightmare.
So hard.
I'm like, okay, I
you
want to go to
the Seme border, and it's a nightmare.
I want to go to Benin Republic, my brother country, my sister country, and I want to go to Togo and then Ghana, and then it's a nightmare. Oh, first of all, they tell you there's no visa, but then you get to pay at the Nigerian border, crossing into Benin Republic at the Seme border, and then from there you get to pay on the Benin side as well.
And what then are you actually paying for? Because you don't get any paperwork.
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you? And you're paying to get your passport stamped.
Yes.
And it's terrible. You're telling me it's visa free for me to go to other West African countries,
but
it's not. To be honest, it's not. It's not like you can't pay that because it's not so much. But collectively from all the travelers on the road, they're really cashing out. And then actually the thing is, it's not even just them. Then you have to settle the custom officers. You have to, and they'll tell you that. And this thing is actually bribe, but they'll tell you that you're not going to pass if you don't do that.
That is bribery.
I'm wondering why is it that way?
Wait, let's pause for a second. What you're telling me is that you get to the border and they tell you that if you do not pay them the bribe,
you can't. And it's visa free because you're holding it's visa free because you're holding a West African passport. But they don't tell you, better go back to your country.
Yes.
I'm telling you. They say, Nigerians, people like to feel like, but it's actually the same for people who are also coming from other countries into Nigeria. The border, the border needs to be checked, and then they'll tell you you can't take pictures. If you take pictures, they'll confiscate your phone because they know they're doing a lot of shady stuff. So I'm wondering why it's like that.
Because there's no real monitoring of what's going on.
Absolutely.
I think that's the ultimate problem, is that no one actually knows. We're saying these things, and we're saying it quite normally. Oh, you have to settle them.
Exactly.
We're saying it quite normally. That is not. That's not a rule. That's not how it should be. If it's visa free, it's visa free. I don't have to come out of pocket for you to start my passport. That's never been a thing.
I'm telling you, and it's so stressful. You can be at the border for like 2 hours.
Why?
It's really terrible.
And this is supposed to be a border that you literally pass in about 10 seconds.
Exactly. Getting to Ghana from Nigeria should be about 8 hours, but then you spend the whole day. like almost 12, 13 hours because
Just
like
trying to
the
get
border
through the border.
challenges
This
are
is a
quite
45-minute
hideous.
flight
Quite.
that you effectively spend
Precisely.
the
I
whole day
know,
on the
no,
road
but
for.
exactly. But the thing is, like, doing road trips is quite interesting. But then now let's even talk about flight aviation. Like, to go to Tanzania, sometimes you have to go to like Kigali.
Yes,
get-
or
yes.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Why?
In fact, to
Why?
go to Zanzibar, you have to stop
to-
in Nairobi
Yes.
before stopping in Dar, before stopping in Zanzibar.
Why?
It's
made it so
ridiculous.
difficult.
But you know, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on, because aviation within Africa rather is what makes Intra-Africa travel so difficult. If we
Yes,
move
I
away
think
from the
so.
roads, you have the hub of Africa in Ethiopia, in Addis. Now, in order to get back to a place within West Africa, sometimes I have to go all the way to East Africa, depending on the day that I want
exactly.
to fly,
Yes,
before
exactly.
coming
Before you
back,
can come back
to the
to
West of
West
Africa.
Africa.
How does that make any sense whatsoever? In order to get to, let's say, Uganda, for example, I still have to go up to the Horn of Africa before being
Before you
able to
can
come back down
down,
east.
yeah.
Why is that?
Do you think there's not the
I
demand?
think, yes, I think it's because of demand, and then
Yeah.
because,
But do
you know,
we really think it's demand? Because we are of a culture and a time whereby we really are accepting and appreciating Africa as a
yes, but
continent.
not everybody.
But not everybody is doing
Yes,
it,
people
but
will
I don't
still-
think
yeah,
it's
we're
loud enough
exactly,
yet. I
exactly,
don't think
yes.
so.
We're still the, like, you know, different breed of travelers.
Right.
There's still
We're still
people
the
who will say,
minority.
please, what's in Rwanda?
Yeah. No, it's very true.
I'm not going to lie, I have heard that.
Oh, of
Yes,
course.
that- and they'll be like, why you go to Kenya? You want to see giraffe? And then
Safari.
it's so strange. And I'm like there's so
There's
much
more
culture.
to the
There's
country
a
than
lot
just
to
the animals.
see. There's a lot to see in Africa, like from the west to the east.
And
to,
you know, one
the
thing that
south.
really gets my goat is the fact that, and this is the way that it's been for ages, for donkey years, centuries, is the fact that Westerners have to appreciate something that belongs to you before you start
Before
to appreciate
exactly.
something else.
Oh my
to
God,
say that.
exactly.
Why is that?
Exactly.
Just about to say
I mean, it was until like people started thinking East Africa was cool.
Yes.
White people,
Yes.
the Africans themselves started
And
saying,
even
The
at
gap
that,
year kids,
maybe
they come here.
even at that, we're
Exactly.
still experiencing certain people who, like you say, what are you going to go
What
and
are you
do?
going- I'm
But
telling
that's
you,
because
I'm
of the
telling you.
culture of what traveling means to
Means
certain
to
people.
most people
We were
in
talking about
Nigeria.
this outside, and we
Yeah.
said that, you know, most people know travel as the
Shopping.
means to shop. We don't have, you
As
know,
opposed to
As
experiences.
opposed to experiences.
Yes,
We're going there to
exactly.
shop. We're going there to sort of get the new clothes from Zara,
Yes.
wherever it might be, and maybe go to Disney World because of the kids or whatever. But you have a very structured package holiday.
Exactly.
Where the only adventure is because you have children.
and they have
You
to
see,
go
the
to like
adventure is the walk down
Disneyland.
Oxford Street. That's
exactly.
the adventure.
Precisely. Maybe the market if you're really feeling particularly daring, but like it's not really a culture of exploration yet.
Yes,
In the way that it's
exactly.
going to be. I think with the it's a rumbling under the surface
But isn't
at the
that more
moment.
to do with who we are as a people? Because
Yeah.
we appreciate material things over
Absolutely.
experiences.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
just put it
true.
out there.
Yes,
It's
yes.
true.
People,
Yeah.
people don't understand how to buy experiences because they're like, that's a
Have
memory.
you,
it's a
have you
fade.
ever tried to book a holiday for a traveller who says, I want to go to a certain place,
Yeah.
and you know, you recommend, they've given you a budget.
Yeah.
So perhaps you look at booking them a hostel. It's inexpensive, and then they get
Yeah.
to
And
use
they
their
get
money
to-
on experiences.
but exactly.
And they say,
How
what's
dare
the
you?
benefit?
What's
Where's the
Hostels.
hostel?
I should stay in a hostel and share with
Exactly.
people.
So
Yeah.
it's difficult because as a people, I don't think that we fully understand or even appreciate the notion of perhaps not living in that much comfort in order to be able to gain those experiences.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like you go for, you know, for example, in Tanzania or any other country that has like wildlife,
Yeah.
people are camping, white people are camping.
Yes,
in
but
this,
we
and
want
they're like,
a glamp, if that.
We have to be
Step
outside.
outside.
I'm like, yeah, do you understand?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they don't mind.
Sleeping,
it.
on
They're
bags
so
on the floor,
fascinated by,
under the
by
stars.
huts, by
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, like the real
Whereas we
cultural
see it as
experience.
local.
We see, exactly.
Yes, something that's not to
exactly.
be appreciated effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the word of the day, because I think that this all stems from the lack of appreciation that we have as a
Of
society
yes,
to
of
our own.
continent.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot to see and do in our continent that you would even be like oversatisfied before even going outside. But then, like,
I mean,
we need
let's
to.
even bring
it
it
needs
back
to be
closer to
reorientation.
home, which we'll discuss a bit further during your interview. But even if you don't have the money to venture outside of Nigeria, there is so much to do within the continent, within the
Yes,
country. I mean,
yes.
you're one of the people that, that even helped me gain my appreciation and understanding of the country, because we've got waterfalls here, we've got
exactly.
sacred
Hills,
groves, we've got hills,
hills,
mountains that you can
culture,
climb,
I'm telling
cattle
you.
ranches. You know, these forestation.
Yes.
I don't know that. I mean, these are things that once the white man comes over, a Caucasian man will snap it and make it look like it's the most beautiful place on earth.
I know.
And they're like, oh, maybe we should have gone there.
Yeah. What's his name? The former James, I can't remember his name, but he was a diplomat or an ambassador.
Oh, the ambassador to America?
Yeah,
for Nigeria, yes.
Yeah, he just left.
Yes.
He got more Nigerian tourists in Nigeria than like Nigeria. Like
the American embassy and the German embassy within Nigeria are doing so much when it comes to culture for Nigeria.
Yeah. No, personally himself, like on Twitter, he showed Nigerians more places about their own country than so it's true, this place is there. And then like they don't appreciate it until someone else talks about it, which is really sad because they can't tell our stories. Like we need to tell our own stories. They tell their stories and then they'll come and tell our own stories.
History belongs to those who write it.
Yes.
If a Caucasian is writing your history for you and you're an African, it's never going to be your history and it's never going to be representative of what actually happened to you.
Exactly, because like for example, like a place like Ikogosi Warm Springs, isn't it, Kitty? It's this really beautiful place that flows cyber. It's warm. No, it is warm. And you know, it's so fascinating because I think there's like supposed to be a volcanic mountain, not so, which is why that's scientific reason. That's scientific reason.
And that's why the water's warm.
Exactly, and then they have like different stories as to how it was found. There's a myth, you know, like we have myths to all like our locations, and there's a myth about a hunter, a Irabor hunter who had 2 wives, and you know then they had like mythical, they had powers, and then his wives, one was hot-tempered and one was calm, and then like they got into a fight one day and used their powers, and then they turned into the water. So obviously like the hot-tempered one was like the warm water, and then but then like they come and change narrative, and then they say that it's a white man that found the place.
And wouldn't it be so lovely if the story that we all knew and were able to tell was the mythical story?
Do you understand? So they say, oh, it was there's this man, like an Irish minister during like the colonial days who went into like the forest and then he found it. But I'm definitely sure it was the
same way Christopher Columbus found America.
Exactly. But I'm definitely sure it was found by locals.
Of course,
but, you know,
was. It existed prior to any Irish minister coming anywhere.
Exactly.
But you know, another one of the things that we do have to discuss is the rates of airfare. Why is it that I cannot even get to my neighboring West African country for less than I could get to Europe? That is another thing that makes people think, well, why should I spend £1,000 on getting to South Africa or Namibia or Mozambique or Senegal or Ethiopia when I could go to Dubai?
Exactly.
And enjoy life. You know, so there are a lot of barriers to entry on the continent. I mean, the African Union said that we would have a singularized passport, right? An all-African passport by 2020. It's 2017 and we still haven't had... The only 2 people to have it are Paul Kagame and the head of the AU. So where is the dispensation? I'd like one.
We really need to have that. We really need to have that because it's so hectic. The visa process again is super hectic. I'm like, to my fellow African country, and then when you even get into the country, like at immigration, it's so much. I'm like, but are we not supposed to be together? Yeah, but it's just...
Can I tell you a story? I went to an African country that shall remain nameless. Now, I have 3 passports. One of them is Nigerian, one of them is British. And as a proud Pan-African, I took my Nigerian passport with me.
Wow.
Big mistake.
That's your downfall.
I mean, literally, the person in front of me presented their British passport, just wave them through. As long as they see Burgundy, just go on straight through. The immigration guy, was chatting with me and laughing. Okay, where's your passport? Here it is. So you're Nigerian.
Really?
That was the beginning of the end.
Wow.
So it's also just a facet of... There's a stigma attached to the green passport. To the point whereby I don't bring it out unless I have to now. And that's horrifying to me as a person who is so proud of my heritage. I mean, before I say I'm anything else, with all the mixes that I have in me, I say I'm Nigerian. But sometimes you cannot actually feasibly bring it out at that immigration port because either you got to enter the longest line ever, or you know, you're going to be disrespected because these people have a stigma attached to your people. And it's just, it's so unfortunate. But how can we rectify this?
We really need to consciously tell our own stories, positive stories. Fine, there are bad things happening in Nigeria, but there are also good things as well. They're great people. I think Nigeria has like the most creative and intelligent youth. There are so many intelligent people doing great things, and I'm super proud of them. But then how can we have all these great people and then like we go out and they're
We're
not
not
represented
celebrating them
properly.
enough.
Yes, so we need to
We're
tell
not
our stories
Because even if you look at
consciously.
like international media houses
Yeah.
that come to tell our stories for us, of course they're going to get it wrong when they firstly can't even pronounce your name.
Well, of course.
You know, but then we as Nigerians, we want to tell the international stories as opposed to the African ones. Why?
But I
You
think
know?
it's a very passive thing of just sort of, there's this acceptance, for lack of a better word, that comes with sort of being Nigerian, as though we've accepted that this is our lot.
Yes,
Do you see what I mean? It's a very,
I
you know,
think so
very
as well.
bold statement and very ballsy statement, and you know, I may ruffle some feathers saying it, but I do strongly feel as though we've sort of become rather sort of like, oh, I guess this is.
Yeah, this is it.
I guess
Right,
this is
as
us.
opposed to fighting for our own rights.
As opposed to being outraged at the point that you go to the
Yes.
airport to go to an African country and they're like, oh, state your purpose for going. When are you coming back? Because your people don't come back.
Yeah.
At Murtala Mohammed Airport,
Yeah.
someone said that to me.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was like, your people don't usually come back here. Where are you going? How long are you going for? I'm like, I'm passing through that. I'm
It
not
was a
even.
Nigerian that asked you this
Yeah,
question?
he was a Nigerian. He was like, you people, you don't come back.
Wow.
I'm like, bro.
So this is how you speak. If you speak to your own people like that,
Like that.
they
So
say,
of course
when I got there-
you teach people how to treat your home.
Exactly. I was like, this is already happening at MMA. What's going to happen when I get to the destination?
That is so unfortunate.
And of course, when I got there, I was like,
Of course. Because you're thinking to yourself, he already thinks I'm not coming back.
oh my goodness. And she was not pleasant either. And I was like, fair enough. So my entire journey was just unpleasantness after another. And I was like, well, this is not.
That is
But it made me really want to just, you know, sort of be more vocal about it and sort of be louder. And I think we all need to do that because we sit here and we analyze these things and then we stop.
Yep.
We leave it here.
And then we go and face it all again at the airport
Exactly.
and take it.
And then we're outraged again.
Yes.
And I think we kind of need to keep
The
that
vicious
conversation
cycle
going.
Absolutely.
We need to keep it going until it's loud enough.
Yeah, because the thing is, Nigeria doesn't have the worst criminals. Nigeria, oh my God, like
We just have the
you know,
smartest.
to be honest, no, we don't even, like someone even told me how bad it was. Like I haven't been to Paris, but I would really love to. But so I said, better keep your purse very well.
yes.
Do you understand?
Oh,
like,
yeah. South of
but I
Milan,
mean,
yes.
everybody still goes there. Do you understand? Like Nigeria, you know, I think we have that thing because like we've had criminals, bad people who have spoiled our name, who have like ruined the good Nigerian name.
So something as base as the flooding that is happening worldwide, it's happening in Texas, it happened,
Yes.
you know, whereby we're laughing at the Chinese man rowing his canoe down Ahmadu Bello, but we're feeling sorrow and outrage for those in Texas that are doing the same thing. We're laughing at our own. So why won't other people laugh at it for us?
And then it's happening. It's even
and it
it's
caused the
worse off
same
in
loss of
Texas.
lives, it
Loss
caused
of
the same
property.
devastation.
Exactly.
So what are we saying
exactly.
here?
And then ours was painted in such a bad light.
Yes.
And it was more about jokes.
Yep.
It was more about jokes and like funny Instagram memes
Yes.
and Twitter memes. Oh my God, Lagos. Oh, then it was now a war between the island and mainland.
I saw that.
Really?
I saw
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I know. That was like, everybody, you are living on the island. Later they'll say, I'm like, that shouldn't be
That shouldn't,
it.
exactly. It shouldn't be anything.
That shouldn't be
we're
it.
talking about.
And then, as well as terrorism, you know, like, they tell them at the, you know, when foreigners are coming into Nigeria, oh, don't go there, it's dangerous, like on every street.
Yes.
And then you that you're in Lagos with your, like, you're sheltered, you're secure, and then you haven't even smelled Boko Haram, you don't even know what that is. I mean, you also hear about
They're
it.
about as far removed
and then,
as the Northern Ireland bombers.
And then someone asks, oh, so how do you cope with Boko Haram? And you're like, how do you even start telling them that
But I mean, even
this
if
doesn't...
you look online, right? So I'm really big on doing my research before I go anywhere. So this is how I become a traveler as opposed to a tourist. So I'm not asking anyone for any information or any directions. But if you look at, I did my research on Nigeria before I decided to move back here. And the only information that you can find on it is outdated information from the back pages of Lonely Planet or TripAdvisor that has the oldest restaurants ever and the most horrible reviews. You know, and we're only just taking control or regaining control of taking hold of the narrative with, you know, sites like Visiter l'Afrique and what's the other one that we have? Travel Noir, Tastemakers Africa. You know, these are people that are doing a lot for the culture and a lot to ensure that the first things that you see online about countries in Africa are positive things.
Stories, yes, and we need more platforms like that. We do. Yes, but we also need that to come from government, sort of. Like, you know, like on foreign media, people advertise their countries. Yeah, I'm not saying you need to paint everything
like
as
you
rosy,
see,
but
Malaysia,
yes,
Asia.
and like you even remember the songs like India, for example, there's incredible India.
I'm singing them all in my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, and then
They're very catchy jingles.
Exactly, and then
but you're very right.
I mean, like, it's not like they're trying to say their country is the best and there's nothing bad happening there. But
they're just
you have to,
celebrating
like, I
the
mean, the beauty of it as well.
And you've done a lot of work with different governments, different state governments to promote their state. So I think it's definitely something that you should look at taking up to a higher level.
Exactly, but the thing is, like, many of them are not. They're not, like, they don't feel like tourism is anything, and they don't feel like they need to tell better stories. And the thing about tourism, it's not just the places, it's the culture as well. And it's even what we're talking about now, the information. It's even more of the information before you then go to the places. It's about exactly. So the information, the storytelling, but they don't see it as in everybody's focused on what can bring fast money. But you need to spend money to make money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they don't want to put money into, I mean, it's just a few states that have, you know, like, had that mindset and that shift now and said, oh, come to, like, you know, for Bauchi, for example, they're saying come to, nobody would have known if they hadn't done that. There was, like, I wouldn't have even known.
And it's beautiful.
Like,
it has the clearest waters, as though you're in Zanzibar.
Warm springs.
I mean, we've got that in our country.
Would have known.
It's got the biggest population of elephants in Africa.
Yes.
Did
Nobody
you know
would
that?
have known.
I didn't prior to going. It's incredible how much we really have, the amounts of resources that we have, not only on the country, but on the continent, that we're not fully even
you know
utilizing.
That, like, in a place in Taraba, you can find, like, precious gems and stones. There's a jeweler from, I can't remember what country, or maybe he's Nigerian, but he lives outside. And he came there to find, so he was documenting his journey on, like, one Instagram page. And then, like, we're going through, like, the stories. It's Mambila Plateau. It's in Taraba. It's, like, the highest peak in Nigeria. And then that's why, like, they wanted to sell, there's this place in Jos, Sherry Hills. They wanted to sell it for miners, like, to miners. Because, like, they wanted to, so there are also precious gems and stones that you can find as well in different places. So there's so much to see, so much to do.
Okay, so we're running out of time. I know this is the most exciting topic ever. We could go on about it for the next 2 years, I'm sure. Hopefully by then we'll have our African Union passports.
Hopefully. I really want to have that.
But finalizing on the topic of intra-Africa travel with an African passport. So we're saying that some of the barriers to entry are the length of the visas that they're giving us, you know, the ambiguity of these tourist destinations to begin with, the fact that it's just so difficult. And what is it that we've decided we're going to do about it individually? We had to take on our own
noise about
make
the
noise
of just freedom of movement within Africa.
I think advocacy about like freedom of movement, as she said, and also creation of that passport is so important. And I think like if as many people as possible make noise about it, I think like someday it will be listened to, and not just like noise, but the importance of it, and then also aviation sector. I don't know what to do about that, but I feel like we should have a national carrier, as well as, you know, like different and, you know, good and working, quality, reliable is the word, reliable airlines, you know, that can ease intra-Africa and intra-Nigeria travel. Exactly, we really need that.
Absolutely.
We really need that.
What a great way to end the segment. Well, thank you very much, ladies. We'll be sitting down for our one-on-one interviews right after this short break.
Thank you.
As I said, it's time now for a short break on the morning show, but stay tuned because when we return, I'll be talking with Nigeria's social prefect. Don't go away.